What's happening, crypto fam? Happy Friday. Good morning and welcome back to Love for Crypto. I'm Scott. It's a pleasure to have you here. I appreciate taking the time out to consume the content, so thank you. This morning I want to talk about NFTs, DLT and smart contracts hitting every industry. Why smart contracts can and will redefine business and trust as we know it. The biggest hurdle, I think, when it comes to especially agreements and smart contracts being legally binding, is the legislation and regulation behind them and the rules that you have to follow to make an agreement or contract legally binding. For instance, anytime you use a lawyer, solicitor, or anything like that to draw up a contract, it's because they know regulations and legislation of what that contract needs to meet to actually be legally binding. Dave up the street doesn't know as much as the lawyer. Yeah? So it's interesting where it's all going to go. I've got an article in, I'm going to have a little read through. It's on the block. It is an old one. I don't really care. It's perspective. It's opinion. It's still mostly probably going to be relevant. I'm just interested in what it was saying, and then I'm going to give my 2 cents about it all. So like it or not, blockchain technology will force organizations to diversify and look for new functions in the near future. Look at Facebook, already looking at rebranding, dipping the toes in the metaverse. They don't just want to be a social media platform anymore. They want to be, well, I mean, what would you call it? A metaverse caretaker or something? I don't fucking know, but they want to run metaverses. So because blockchain technology is trust-free and not controlled by any authority, it's disrupting the way we as businesses and people transact together. Something that the centralized entities of the corporate world might struggle with. I've said it before, I'll say it again. How do Apple go decentralized? They're not the most centralized company I know. How do Apple go decentralized? How do Apple, I mean, you're talking about Apple opening up their doors and APIs and the rest of it for Android and the rest of them. Like that again, it's legislation, regulation, and stuff that we don't really get, but we know it's gonna get there. It's gonna get there. Blockchain's about pure maths that nobody can tamper with. And that's one of the main reasons the level of skepticism around this technology today. Smart contracts, however, are becoming more and more popular within businesses because they allow a trustless or trust-free transaction to be executed autonomously once a certain action happens. A computer scientist and Bitcoin precursor Nick Szabo first used the term smart contract in 1997. Smart contracts are actually tiny computer programs based on if A then B logic, which are executed when certain conditions are met. It sounds like a no-brainer. So I might ask, what's so smart about those contracts? Well, there's guarantees of fairness and transparency. Thanks to the blockchain technology, all parties involved in a smart contract can be confident that the contract is carried out in a 100% neutral and non-biased way. Whatever terms have been agreed before signing will mean that the contract will be implemented in the future with no risk of fraud, manipulation, or unauthorized modification. This is how it works. In the case of Ethereum, blockchain developers write smart contracts in programming language such as Solidity and then publish them on the Ethereum network. Published smart contracts have a public address. Users can trigger them by sending some cryptocurrency to their address, for example, just as they would if they wanted to make a regular transaction, along with some extra data. The same computers that support the Ethereum network and verify the transactions also execute smart contracts. Since the Ethereum network is decentralized, it guarantees that smart contracts are implemented fairly and transparently, and no single node can change the terms and the results of a smart contract because it would contradict other computers in the network. So, every business, any sector, they're getting it and they're getting touched by DLT. 100%. By 2030 to 2040, the world will be governed by smart contracts. Most ownership will be governed by smart contracts. Yeah, it's coming. So smart contracts also advert the need for notaries, lawyers, and other third parties by automating the process through undeniable mathematical proof. They also provide immutable and transparent registration, as opposed to centralized systems where contracts are stored in walled gardens and secured by organizations that tax their clients for their services they offer. Everything a smart contract performs is stored on the blockchain, making it unchangeable and available to everyone. With full automation and the fact that businesses don't need to rely on third parties, smart contracts have the potential to disrupt pretty much every business you can possibly imagine. For example, in the case of insurance, imagine a farmer whose crops depend on a certain weather conditions, such as rain, to flourish. With an automated smart contract, the farmer could simply use the insurer's website specifically to specify the parameters of his crops by location, type of plants, etc. And website service would have access to current and historical weather data from his location. So we'll be able to forecast the probability of drought, storms, or other weather conditions that could destroy the crops. Based on this information, the farmer would pay the insurance fee and sign a smart contract. If the weather destroyed the crops, the insurance company would automatically see the evidence of that in the weather data, and the smart contract would be automatically triggered to compensate the farmer's loss. Similar cases could be built around driver's insurance too, whereby the driver would only be paying for their insurance cover while the car is on the move. So if you're not driving, you're not paying. And I've said that in the past, and never mind insurance, let's go one further with the car road tax. So road tax and car insurance, you're paying you're paying a yearly rate. I've not used my car for 3 weeks. I'm paying road tax on a car that's not even MOT'd. It's gone in for its MOT yesterday. So I'm paying insurance and road tax on a car that's not even MOT'd, and I can't even drive it. I shouldn't be paying insurance and road tax on it. Once your car's parked up on a drive or off the road, you should not be paying road tax. You should be paying a reduced insurance rate just for theft. And yeah, when you start moving the car actually and driving it, it then goes up again. Let's go one further. What about self-driving cars? Who insures that? Is it just in the subscription? Just in the price? Who's insuring a car that drives itself? Because I'm not fucking paying. If the car crashes and it's got nothing to do with me, I'm not paying the extra premium on that shit. Whoever built the car that fucking crashed can pay the premium, bruh. Because I ain't fucking paying it. Nah, I'm not driving. Why would I drive? Why would I pay the insurance if I ain't driving? I'll pay it now because I'm driving. It's extremely interesting. Extremely interesting. Eliminating issues of trust that are central to smart contracts. So smart contracts can also be used in crowdfunding and to support corporate social responsibility too, where fundraisers only receive the money raised if the campaign reaches a certain level of funding. If a goal is not reached, funds are refunded to the supporters. That is similar to Kickstarter. If you don't make your pledge on Kickstarter, you don't get the money. GoFundMe kind of can pay it out weekly. This new way of conducting business eliminates any trust issues between the parties involved in an agreement because it is completely transparent and scalable. Smart contracts have already started reshaping business in supply chain, healthcare, education, finance, and in many more areas of our lives. The mass adoption of cryptocurrency will further contribute to new business models, whereby, thanks to smart contracts, devices will be able to transact with one another without human interference. For example, a car will be able to pay for its parking. And son, we've said this in the past, what about going to the pictures and getting a meal? Like, you're stopping for some fast food at a drive-thru and you're going for a fucking meal. The car's paying for the lot, mate. The car's paying for the lot. The car will pay for your McDonald's in the drive-thru in the end. If you think you're going to lean out the window with a card in 2035, you're an ignoramus. It's not your fault, but you're ignorant. Because we've seen the documents, we've seen what's going to be at the tips of your fingers, just sat in the driver's seat of a car. You won't even have to get your phone out of your pocket. You won't necessarily need a chip in your hand. It will be, if the car don't pay, your fucking hand's going to pay. You know what I mean? But again, like, it can book the cinema tickets while it's driving you to the cinema. And guess what? It's low on charge when it gets to the cinema. So how about some wireless charging for them, eh? That's the future. Get it so the car can just drive to a charge port and be charged on its own. So I don't actually need to take it. So every time, that car can be constantly looking on the map and can be like, bro, we're almost at a charge here. We're the point of like literally not reaching a charge point. We're gonna have to stop saying petrol station for charge point. Charging station. No one's going to say petrol station in 2050. Fucking house got 2050 fucking miles away. So's the 80s, innit, dickhead? Jesus fucking Christ. To understand how fast it's gone from the 90s to now. And we're now closer to 2050 than we are 1990. I want people to think about that when they're like, fucking 2050, what's this fucking dickhead on about? Fucking 2050, as if I'm still going to be here then, Margaret. I'm fucking still going to be here in 2050. Fucking hell. I'll tell you what, fuck off then. Legitimately fuck off. Imagine what the world's going to be like in 2050. Maybe even slightly before 2040. No petrol stations in the Western world. I said this the other day, didn't I? It's alright saying that we're going to fucking change by 2030, 2040, but how long is it going to take for the rest of the world to do the same? Extremely fucking interesting. So this new business model, known as M2M, and if you didn't know, it's machine-to-machine payments. We spoke about your fucking oven and your fridge paying for power as they use it. Your fucking boiler paying for water as it fucking pulls it out of the ground. Your taps and that paying for the water as it pull it out of the ground. Like, paying the fucking rates as and when you use it. Yeah? So machine to machine combined with the utilization of smart contracts will also make space for new businesses to be developed. While smart contracts can run independently, they can also call upon each other. Just like procedures and functions in any traditional program. So one smart contract may trigger another smart contract when it completes or as part of the course of its execution. So by creating interconnected smart contracts, developers can create decentralized applications, which are called dApps, and complete programs that run on blockchain, operating in decentralized, trustless, or trust-free systems that will speed up all sorts of transactions, boost confidence in business, and in many ways will make our lives as humans much easier. Trustless, trust-free is a fucking weird term, man. Fucking weird. It don't sit right in my head, that. Trustless means you can't trust it in my head. I can't trust that trustless shit. It's trustless. Can't trust that shit. Trustless. Trust-free. Trust-free systems. Trustless. What it means is it works that fucking well, is that fucking secure, and is that fucking reliable. You don't need to trust it. Where we're going, Marty, we don't need trust. What the fuck? Like, you need to trust the network. You need to trust the smart contract. You need to trust your validators, the currency and assets you're using. You do need trust, right? It's just that trustless or trust-free systems incorporate trust in the protocols and the mechanisms. So it is a weird term, trustless. It's trustless. So I can't trust, you know, it just makes it sound like you can't actually trust it. Trust-free system, maybe a little bit of a better way of saying it. But at the end of the day, smart contracts, beyond NFTs, like way beyond NFTs, that shit's like, that art, all the arts, it's just a fucking beginning regarding smart contracts and non-fungible tokens. Just the beginning. Yeah. You know, the dance. I mean, they say it trustless. It's going to get rid of the middleman. But again, like, can you write a legal document? Can you fucking write a contract to swap your house with me right now? And know that it's legally binding, and that there's no way in the future that you can blag that my house is still fucking yours, or I can blag that your house is still fucking mine, that it's officially swapped hands ownership. Can you write a legally binding contract like that right now? Because if you can't, you still need the fucking middleman. It doesn't matter that the smart contract's out there giving you the capabilities of doing it without a middleman. So, like, people who don't know how to use the internet and don't know how to set up an email still have to send a fucking letter. Make no mistake of that. No one's removed the fucking middleman for them yet. They're still going post office, still posting the fucking letters in the post box, still buying stamps and licking the motherfucker. Do they still lick them, or are they just stickers? Now, they're probably just stickers, aren't they? I'd be surprised if you got a lick a stamp these days. Fucking stamp lickers. But you know what I'm getting at. So what makes an agreement into a legally binding contract? A common misconception is that it is a solicitor who makes an agreement legally binding, perhaps by preparing a document in a particular way or approving it, except for a very few types of agreement where Parliament has legislated additional requirements that makes a legal agreement is the existence of three things. So I was alright. Not every legal agreement is gonna need to match the legislated fucking requirements, but some are. Some are. First, there must be an agreement. An offer made by one side and an acceptance by one or more others. An offer is an expression of willingness to enter into an agreement, subject to conditions or terms. It could be made to a specific person, or to a group of people, or to the world at large. An offer is not an invitation to treat. The distinction is that an invitation to treat is an invitation to make an offer, without the intention that the person invited should be bound by the terms. An example of an invitation to treat is a display of goods for sale in a self-service shop. An offer can be withdrawn at any time, provided the withdrawal is communicated to the offeree. It can be communicated by a reliable third party, not necessarily the offerer. Acceptance must be unqualified and final. If a counteroffer is made that aims to change the terms, then the original offer is deemed to be rejected. A rejected offer cannot be restored or accepted unless it's made again. A request for more information about the offer is not a counteroffer. Acceptance takes effect when it's communicated to the offerer. Interesting. Interesting. So secondly, contracts underhand must have consideration. Something of value exchanged between the parties. Consideration must be significant, but need not be adequate. In other words, the thing given must have economic value, but that value does not have to reflect the value someone else might accept. Interesting. That's a fucking interesting line, innit? That should swap your 600k house for your 300k house. Because the value doesn't have to fucking match. You just need to agree. You just need to be like, yeah, I want a smaller house, me, mate. This big house is doing my fucking head in. You got a nice fucking house there. I'd live in your house. Swap your house for my house. But you're gonna lose 300k on the property. It's like, well, I don't really give a shit about the value. It's not about the value to me, mate. I want your fucking house. Will you swap it for mine, please? Who the fuck who are you, me, or anyone else to tell them two people they shouldn't be swapping like that? They shouldn't be doing that. The guy shouldn't be losing 300k. Shut your fucking mouth. Sit down and shut up and let them get on with it. It's what them two want to do. That line is extremely fucking interesting to me. The thing given must have economic value, but that value does not have to reflect the value someone else might accept. Fascinating. To be sufficient, the consideration must detriment the party who pays it, but it does not have to benefit the other party. Alternatively, it can be given to a third party nominated by the one otherwise who would receive it. Excuse me. Generally, consideration must not be for an action that occurred in the past. For example, money given on a date prior to that contract as a gift cannot be a consideration. There are exceptions. A pre-existing debt can be consideration for a bill of exchange. For example, checks can be used to pay for work carried out in the past. If a party is asked to perform an obligation with understanding that the performing party is to be enumerated in the future, and that's sufficient consideration. Interesting. Thirdly, the offer and the acceptance must both be made with intention to enter into a legally binding agreement. In commercial transactions, it is presumed that this intention exists. To claim otherwise is difficult. To basically, you walk in fucking Tesco. You've got two intentions. Three maybe, taking something back. So let's ignore the taking something back. If you're going in there to purchase, you're going in there to do one or two things. You're going in there to price something, possibly purchase it. So you got to have intention to enter a legally binding agreement. You buy a t-shirt from Tesco, you get a receipt for it, and there's an agreement there between you and Tesco in the small print. If you don't like the product and it's bring it back within 14 days and you've done that, there's a fucking agreement. You've just bought a fucking t-shirt, but there's a fundamental agreement underneath it, trading laws and all the rest of that shit. Written and verbal agreements, though, how will they still hold up in smart contracts? Well, if the audio is in the metadata, if you have a minute meeting with a person, and usually minute meetings would be CEOs and executives and board members of a company, but it doesn't mean you can't just have your own little fucking minute meeting with your mate, because you're going to set up an LLC and you record the fucking meeting and you put that on a smart contract. Like, that is verbally on the fucking thing, innit? Please tell me the difference between writing a metadata, typing a metadata, and speaking a metadata. As long as the metadata is on the fucking smart contract, it's fucking there. In fact, it might actually be better to have the metadata in the smart contract in all forms. Have a written contract, have a spoken verbal agreement that's recorded and saved on the contract, and even record the video of you agreeing and shaking your hands and all that shit and put that on the contract as well. Under common law, writing an agreement down is not necessary to make it legally binding. An informal agreement, such as one made verbally, will be binding if it has 3 components. Damn. Parliament has made statutory exceptions to this rule. For example, many contracts involve the lease, transfer, options over and sale of land, and those relating to employment and transfers and licenses of certain types of intellectual property must be written so that each side is aware of her obligations and rights. Likewise, contracts of guarantees are also required to be in writing. The advantage of clear communication is one of the reasons why plain English is now favoured in legal documents over legalese. Extremely fucking interesting. That carries on a little bit there, spouting about contracts and that, net law, man. What makes a business agreement into a legally binding contract? Very, very interesting. Smart contracts are about to take over the fucking world. They're about to govern the fucking world. They're about to run smart houses. They're about to run your insurance, your tax, your rates, everything. Everything. The Amazon shop where you walk in and it notices off your digital ID that you've walked in. And it opens the fucking app and it's like, right, you've got a wanna in your app. What you're buying. And you just pick shit up, put it in your basket, walk out the fucking shop. And your phone's like, yeah, we took these items out the shop. And the app's like, okay, you're going to fucking pay for them now. Cheers. And it just takes the money out your wallet. There's a smart contract in there that when you signed up to that app and added your digital ID, that you gave Amazon permission to take money from your wallet every time you enter an Amazon shop and leave with some products. You will be charged for the products you leave with. It's extremely fucking interesting. Extremely interesting. And we ain't done covering it. It will be constant progression and carrying on. So, you know the dance. You know the dance. Invest in yourself. Invest in internet of value. Live long and hodl it all till you're ready to let it go. And that should be when you die. Because it should be staked and baked. And you should be living off rewards, mate. I can't stress this enough. You've got a big fat pot of fucking crypto and digital assets. You're going to stake it and live off the rewards. When you die, the fucking pot's still there. The rewards are still coming. Your next of kin just has the fucking access. Your private key. They just do. Charge that inheritance tax, mate, and it'll get thrown in your fucking nose. Yeah? Done. They're not taxing that. They can tax the rewards all day they want. I don't give a shit. You earn over £11,000 in a year. So if you take over £11,000 in rewards, you're going to start paying tax on what you take after that. Kosher. Shit, man. We need some money. Money's got to come from somewhere to pay the fucking nurses and shit. Do you know what I mean? Like, who else is fucking paying it? So something's got to be given. It's just fascinating to think how it will play out in the end. Be your own bank means you control most of the value, which means when you're gone, you're next of kin controls most of the value. All the money's in the banks and all that shit, that will get inheritance tax like there's no fucking tomorrow. Think about it, yeah? And let us know what you think in the comments. And I'm going to go and do some maths. I'm going to try and get on Kerbal Space Program over the weekend and have a bit of a buzz sending some rockets into space. So I'm not going to promise anything, but hopefully we get on and do a bit of that. We had a bit of internet problems last weekend, but we should be good this weekend. So yeah, invest in yourself, the internet of value. Stake it, bake it, all that shite. Because smart contracts are the future and we love it. We love the ideas of smart contracts handling everything for us once you've agreed to it. We love the idea of an internet of value and barely even noticing that we're paying for stuff and that we're trading. And as always, we love you. So take care of yourself, guys. Enjoy Friday, enjoy weekend, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.